For the exam day, I think temperament matters the most because if you are anxious, this is an exam of aptitude, and your brain should be fully functioning, and you should be
Mm-hmm.
anxiety stress free at the time of exam. Stress management, anxiety management is something that you should focus on, and not worry about the result as much because anything can happen. So on the exam day, you should be stress free. That's my main point.
So as you can see, a great score 705 and above, as we have been seeing, is a 99th percentile. So his score is 715, which means in the previous version it would have been 770 plus 55, which is an outstanding score. Wherever he's applying, at least the GMAT will never be a reason for any kind of rejection ever. If at all there's rejection, if at all I'm saying, let's say he's applying to 10 schools and one does, it will not at all be because of the GMAT. And obviously, this will be a great plus. So, Utkarsh, welcome and fantastic performance. All right, Utkarsh, first of all, congratulations. You've aced one part of the puzzle, and obviously we'll be on to the second one. So why don't you take us through your GMAT journey, your challenges, and how you navigated all of them, and eventually what all happened, which all material helped you, which all topics you were weak at, and eventually the exam experience, mock experience, everything. So just take a chronological journey better. That will.
Okay, Sandeep. So I enrolled in November, I think, last year, and
Mm-hmm.
I did not get much time initially because of the job as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I started preparing in December as such, and I was getting time on weekend only. So I started with the videos of verbal. Verbal was the most challenging part for me was the verbal section.
Okay.
And after this introduction of GMAT focus, I think it is better for Indians because we don't have much as of in syllabus in the
Mm-hmm.
verbal section as it was earlier. So critical reasoning and reading comprehension were the only two things we had to
Mm-hmm.
I had to focus on. And for the initial days when I started, I gave a mock test. I was getting a percentile score of around 70 or 60 in the verbal section,
Mm-hmm.
which was way too less than what I actually
Mm-hmm.
got in tests.
Right. Right.
So I started with watching the videos. I think the C videos that you had, four
Mm-hmm.
videos of 3 hours, and then I practiced the questions which were in the that PDF provided by top
Right.
1%, and a few other questions as well as on the mock test. There were sectional mock tests, so those were
Right.
very helpful. Practicing using the Octave framework was something that helped me because I am not a reader. I never read novels or anything,
Mm-hmm.
so basically reading was not my habit, and like targeting the passages in a way like the Octave framework provided me
Mm-hmm.
a way more like it provided me an understanding of how to approach problem.
Right.
So Octave was something that helped me a lot, and after that the practice was most important part. I
Right.
gave a mock test before the exams, and
Mm-hmm.
the second ones in which I was not performing better. So I think the best part for me was Octave as well as the practice thing.
And how
Apart
about
from that,
critical reasoning as well? Just let us know.
so critical reasoning, yeah, I think your videos helped me, and practice there also was the most crucial part for me. Videos were initially for getting a hold of how things are there
The
and how
cause, effect, conditional, number,
yeah.
percentage, etc. Anyway would have been fine for you. But again, getting the framework right is important, and yeah, the thought process right, I think must have really helped. All right. And apart from that, what amount of practice did you do from the PDFs, and what amount of practice did you do from the portal? Did you extensively use the portal, etc.? Just let us know as well.
So for the verbal section, I did a lot of practice before even like I was not actually doing a lot before January or such. For verbal section, I was targeting everything like PDF portal or whatsoever because
Mm-hmm.
it was the weakest part for me. And doing that from the PDFs and other sources provided, I think Manhattan or something, LSAT
Mm-hmm.
things were also there. So I did practice from there also. And after January, so I started it in a timed manner. And for that, I used Portal because Portal had the time feature, which
Right. Okay.
helped me a lot. So I think Portal was more important when you have a hold of concepts, and
Mm-hmm.
and you want to practice in a way that you will be actually doing it in exam.
Okay, I know quantitative may not have been such a big problem, but was data sufficiency initially a tricky area for you? Just asking you.
Yeah, so data sufficiency was a tricky area. It's always a tricky area. Even on the exam day, I got a few questions wrong. Even during my mocks, I was getting a percentile of 98 or 99 on data during the mocks, but in the exam, the data sufficiency part I found a bit harder than the mocks,
Hmm.
and it's always confusing. Like as much as you should practice a lot and get a hold of questions, even then it's hard.
Hmm.
I mean, some
Okay,
questions can confuse me.
right, right. And for the DI section, did you practice a lot from the portal? Because everybody says, and this is something that I hear from everyone, that the timing or time management in DI is a very big puzzle. So did that help you in any way? Just tell us that also. And then we'll come to mocks and sectionals, how many you wrote, etc. But DI, did it help you pace yourself really well in the portal?
Yes, practicing in a time manner always helps, and time management is most important part, I think, for GMAT focus, because even I think even if you leave a single question, it gets penalized very heavily.
Right, right.
So I used to and my percentile score got down to 14 or something, leaving
Oh,
2 or 1 questions there.
yeah,
So
yeah.
so that was a part that I had to deal with, the time management thing. And data insights, obviously, is because you can find a few questions which are very lengthy in terms of time. So you should actually be able to navigate through the questions and just effectively manage your time so that you will not leave the easier questions in the later part of the
Hmm.
exam. That's the important thing that you get a hold of while practicing in on the portal.
So most of the portal did you utilize in all the MBA.com 6 tests, or were you selective about this? Just tell me.
So I utilized the top 1 percentile portal, and I had only two free tests from the MBA.com.
Okay,
And
okay.
MBA.com's tests were more like to be honest, the top 1 percentile tests are a bit harder on quant
Mm-hmm.
and DI side, which actually readies you or prepares you better.
Mm-hmm.
While the MBA.com's tests were a bit easier in quant and DI. The verbal section, obviously, it was always hard for me in any portal.
Mm-hmm.
So the
So
thing,
Utkarsh, tell me about the exam experience now. Overall, which section did you start with? What was the order you followed? Did you write online or at a center? And after that, was there anything unusual? Were you anxious or nervous? Like all the entire experience of the test center or the online exam, whatever you wrote, yeah.
so I wrote the exam in a test center in Mumbai only, and the experience as such was very fluent. Everything was like I had no complaints in the exam process.
Mm-hmm.
While for the exam, I wrote verbal. I wrote first quant and then verbal and then DI. The reason for this was that I used to finish quant a bit before time, so I
Mm-hmm.
had break of around 5 or 6 minutes remaining, which I utilized, and then I for just calming myself, and then I
Mm-hmm.
got into verbal, which took all my time. Like I had never left any time for verbal.
Mm-hmm.
After I used to take the break of 10 minutes and then I got on to
Mm-hmm.
date. So that's how I planned my exam. Quant was first because I wanted a rest before verbal.
Mm-hmm.
So this was my plan, and for the exam day, I think temperament matters the most, because if you are anxious, this is an exam of aptitude, and your brain should be fully functioning, and you should be
Mm-hmm.
anxiety stress free at the time of exam. So for the data part, I don't know. I was a bit stressed on the exam day. That
Mm-hmm.
actually, I think had an impact on my score, but not much. So stress management, anxiety management is something that you should focus on, and not worry about the result as much, because anything can happen. So on the exam day, you should be stress free. That's my main point.
Okay. Anything unusual on the test day in terms of questions that you had prepared, like types? Yes.
So I was expecting the questions in like for MBA.com, although there are two tests, but I think they have a question bank for every test. And if you retake the test, you get a few different questions even for the same
Right,
test.
right.
So I was expecting easier questions on data. I never saw like it were below a certain level, but on the exam day, the data insights question were actually a bit harder and lengthier than they were on MBA.com, and they were tending towards the top 1%
Hmm.
portal.
We
So that
have tried to give some of the exams quite difficult in that, so we know that this is happening. Quant and verbal were pretty standard. You fail. Anything unusual there?
no, content verbal font was standard. It was as the MBA.com portal only, but
Mhm.
verbal was okay. And but the data portion was harder than expected for me on the exam day.
But you could finish all the three sections, right? That means
For verbal section, I attempted 22 questions, and the 23rd I just marked it.
marked, right? Also, and this is a great strategy. I never have heard from any student that you do your strongest section first, save time, and just calm down and breathe and not leave the, let's say, room. And then you really have 5, 6 minutes of thought, like a calming of the mind before verbal, which is a fantastic strategy if you are genuinely faster at one thing. Very nice. What advice would you have for people who are yet to write the exam? And they can be in various stages. So just let's know what you should not do, what you should do. I mean, if there is something that you think you shouldn't have done, or that also, or something. Let's see.
So, first of all, I think you should always be aware of your strength areas, whatever is strong for you,
Hmm.
and the weaknesses too, so that you can strategically prepare. Because all of us, most of us, prepare for GMAT during the jobs, so you don't get a lot of time. And uh, obviously, if you focus on the weaker portion more, that will be always helpful to you. Apart from that, watching the videos for at least verbal and R, like RCCR was very helpful. And KTW was something that I started with, but obviously I could not complete all of the videos. But
Hmm.
whatever I saw was very helpful for the exam, as well as in terms of even getting the knowledge about the world and all. It was
Hmm.
actually interesting. I saw a few videos. And apart from that, I think the most helpful thing is that you should focus on the practice as soon as you are getting close to exam. I think last 15 or 20 days should be about practice and improving your exam strategy. And you should be finished before a month before you like about if you are planning to give the exam seriously. I think the syllabus should be over a month before, and a month should be only about practice. And I would suggest that if you are giving the exam, you can take a week's leave or something, like a leave of 5 or 6 days before the exam, because
Right.
I took leave a week before. I took a leave of 6 weeks.
Utkarsh, just tell me how were the last 15 to 20 days of your preparation? How much were you practicing? You were on leave, obviously, for the last 7 days, so you would have been practicing more. Did you try to practice in the same exam time slot that some people say you should practice? Nick, how was your last 15, 20 days? Did you get into that flow state that everything was registering faster? You were like easily able to manage everything? And what were your mock scores like also? Yeah.
So to start with, my portal's mock score were I started with 530 or something, and the
Okay.
last knock was 685 on Top's portal. And on the MBA.com's portal, I had two scores of 715 or 635 or something. I don't remember. But my mock score were had a good variance in, and I was not sure what's going to be on the exam day, but I was not focusing on the mock score. I was focusing on practicing and getting my weaker points strengthened in the last week. So for the last week, when I was on leave, I was practicing around 6 or 7 hours per day, like a
Hmm.
mock and two sectionals for, and I was analyzing my mistakes there very thoroughly.
Hmm.
If the verbal portion, mostly I was making mistakes until the and before 3 days. I mean, I was not confident for verbal even 3 days before the exam. But since I got into that mode a week before, and I practiced more and more verbal, I think that was very helpful for me during the
Hmm.
exam day, because it is also about the momentum that you make before.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that momentum is very important. I was not practicing it much before. Like my exam was third March, and I had a lot on my plate until 15th or 16th Feb. So I was not practicing much until 16th. But once I got into momentum, it was very fluent. Like momentum is also very important for me at least. So I think that is also a
The
good strategy.
momentum is very important for everyone. I say flow state, but it's the same thing as momentum. But yeah, towards the end, trust me, 30, 40 points you can credit only to the momentum you have. That in you just feel that yes, I can. I mean, you start feeling a little more confident that I think I can handle it on the test day. And with if you're not too worried about the test result on the this. All right, Utkarsh, very, very happy that you could nail it at the percentile that is generally an absolutely acceptable and very welcome percentile. Any B schools, okay, you'll anyway be applying for 2025 or 26 intake, right? I mean, I don't think it's possible even to even think about it. So, anyway, whenever you're applying or if you're shortlisting, do contact us and if you need some consultation. Otherwise, do complete or know the world compulsorily. You will genuinely feel that there's a lot more that you can talk about, a lot more that will be there anyway. So what was the experience of the awareness and whatever minimum know the world that you watched? That also just share.
So for the KTW thing, like I told that I was not getting a lot of time, but it was interesting for me. And for the awareness thing, as soon as I was practicing the questions, I was trying to get the hold of things, searching on Google, and
Mm,
these days things like Gemini or Bard, the
mm,
AI. So I was just asking, I was using those tools to get the context of all the passages that I was reading through, especially on the GMAT your
mm,
portals,
mm.
the materials, every passage I was getting a hold of about its context. So that was helpful. And apart from that, the KTW videos, as I started it, I had a lot of things I never knew before a lot of things which I heard there about the history of United States, about the how the things are, the theory of evolution and everything. So that was interesting for me, and I think it gives you a perspective more than like in general we get involved into a job which is monotonous, which is about a certain field. So getting to know a lot of things is obviously gives you another perspective to think about it, and I think I'll complete those videos. I will
In
as
your
soon as.
interviews and trust me, in your entire application, that will come in so handy. It has helped so many people, as you would have seen also from the feedback, etc. So do finish that. Do keep in touch, and all the very best for the upcoming applications next year. Right. Bye bye. Next year is wrong. Actually, you'll be applying probably by August this year itself.
No, Sandeep, I have only 2 years. I wanted to get it like I just wanted to get
Okay,
over with
GMAT
it.
you wanted to finish off.
But
So you'll be applying for 26 intake, that means.
yes, 26 intake.
All right, whenever you do, just let us know if you really wish to have any conversation around it, any help. Very, very nice and happy to talk to you. Really, really happy that you could join today. Bye
Thank
bye. Bye, Utkarsh.
you.
Bye.